Hi, welcome to On Today's Ride. I'm Kieran, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly what I take on my super lightweight bike packing tours. And I'm currently mid-tour here in Flores Island in Eastern Indonesia, staying at a beautiful little, I'm treating myself because it's my birthday today, to well, 300,000 rupee a night. That's about 15 pounds, so not exactly breaking the bank. Anyway, normally I do a video like this and just do a quick run through of my gear in the midst of one of my touring videos, but I thought I'd do a standalone episode this time and go into more detail. So under this beautiful tree in the garden here is my bike. It's not clean, as I say, it's mid-tour, but we'll just start with the bike. So Cannondale Topstone, a few years old version, aluminium. I don't use carbon bikes for touring. I do a lot of traveling, a lot of packing bikes away, aeroplanes, whatever. I do think carbon's a little bit more fragile and a lot more expensive to replace. I'm very happy with aluminium, and this is a great bike for touring, for off-road, on-road, everything really. Tyres, I've just switched to these Vittoria Terreno Zeros, tubeless ready, the Graphene 2.0 38mm version, but they're not tubeless. I was running tubeless with the last tyres, and I did start having little problems here and there, having to reinflate, running out of tubeless sealant for no real reason, like spraying out a little hole. And I was just like, you know, for touring, and I'm sure everyone has their own opinion on this, I've gone back to not only inner tubes but butyl inner tubes. I've tried using TPUs. TPUs are great, except I just got one out of my bag and it wasn't rattling around in my toolkit bag. It was brand new, it was sitting in my front pack, and it didn't inflate. And then they're not repairable, so I'll show you. I have got spares and glues and patches, just like the old school. So that's the bike, that's the tires. What I'll do is I'll unpack each of the bags and show you exactly what's in them. Okay, so my little saddlebag is actually the saddlebag I would use on normal riding. It's really just my toolkit, but I've got a very handy little strap here, a zip tie, but it's a reusable zip tie. They're really useful. I got a couple of those. I think I just got them free as packaging, and I've had them for years. They're really, because they just zip together. Let's see if I can show you. Yeah, put the camera on my chest. So they just zip together, but then you can just undo them. So that's very useful just for strapping things on, making sure they don't fall off. So I got my night shoes on here, and my evening shoes are very cheap, sort of sliders from Decathlon, like €5. Super lightweight, but really good for evenings, and they've got a means of strapping them on. That's important. Okay, I've moved to the little gazebo. I hope the light coming in from the sides doesn't affect it too much. So this is what's in my saddlebag. It's basically important stuff, tools and that I can get at. So I've got two butyl inner tubes. Yeah, they're a bit bulky and heavier. However, these are Maxxis ones, so they're not super bulky. But I have got, in this little kit here, a repair kit, and I know how to use it because there are tricks to using old school patches and glue. The main one being, let the glue almost dry before you put the patch on. Don't just put the glue on, leave it for a few seconds and then put the patch. Wait until it's really tacky, so when you pull your finger off you get the sort of spider webs, and then it should stick. So I've got patches in there, not self-adhesive ones. I won't use self-adhesives, they let me down badly in Mexico once. Lesson learned. So old school patches, a square of sandpaper, rubber cement, pair of good decent tire levers, good for getting tires off and on, and also for spreading disc pads. I've got a multi-tool. It's a toe peak one, I think. Yeah, it's a toe peak one. It's got the usual stuff on, but it has also got, which can be very, very useful. I think I would never carry a multi-tool that didn't have. Trying to open it with one hand here. It's got a chain breaker and a quick link opener. Now you can open quick links with a shoelace. There's a couple of ways of doing it, but it's nice to have the opener. But the chain breaker is crucial, because if your chain breaks, there'll be a broken link that you need to get off. I've then got, in this little box, I've got 3 spare links, almost overkill. This is part of the tool here. I've got a spare pair of disc brake pads and a few mini zip ties. You never know when you're going to use zip ties. I've got a dirty rag for wiping my chain, because I use drip wax lube, which I find very useful. Squirt, or now I'm using Effetto Mariposa. And then the last thing I have in there is an Apple AirTag, very useful for flying and traveling generally. So that's the contents of my toolkit. Moving on to the frame bag. just the bags generally. I'll just say the toolkit is a toe peak one, and it's one that expands, which is useful. I could actually get even more in there. The only one thing I didn't bring that I normally bring is a spare hanger that holds the derailleur on, and the reason being is that I broke it the day before I left Ubud. So I always carry a spare one, and now I don't have one, but only for this tour, and then I'll get another one. Unfortunately, this is broken. It's seen a lot of use, so the strap at the back I've had to jury rig. This is a Planet X, which is a British brand, fairly cheap, you know, $20-30. The zipper thing is broken on that. The top tube bag is Alpkit, which is a good British brand. Nothing's broken on that one, and then this is a cheapo Rhino Walk. Comes out of China. You know, not a bad kit, but again, the zip thing has broken. It's often under a fair bit of pressure. Anyway, what is in the frame bag? So mainly in the frame bag, I keep my evening clothes, and there's not a lot. There's not a lot of spare clothes. There's a pair of underpants from Decathlon and a Fox mountain bike t-shirt. I only bring man-made fabrics, you know, things that will wash and dry very quickly and aren't too hot and sweaty. And then I've got my spectacle case. I've got them on at the moment. My eyes are giving me a bit of stick, but normally I wear my contact lenses when I'm riding, so I can wear my shades, and then my glasses go in there. And my luxury item is my Kindle. Now, I could read from my phone, but I do quite a lot of looking at phones, and I'd rather not. Reading off a phone, it's a bit too small, so I like having my Kindle, and then I've got something to read. Okay, top tube bag. It looks a bit messy. I'll explain why in a second. So this is my electronics bag. In here I've got my camera and all electronic stuff, cables and stuff. This is just a glasses cleaner that I leave sticking out, so I can easily just wipe the camera lens on that, or my phone lens. Very useful. So that lives in there. And then, yeah, these two bags fit in that top tube. Let's see what's in them. I'll just say that although I think that bag is supposed to be waterproof, but in tropical sort of range you get here, I don't trust that. So I always use Ziploc bags, proper Ziploc bags made by Ziploc, not the cheap fake ones you get from the supermarket. I've tried those and they always fail. These ones have been opened and closed many times on this trip. Okay, camera is my, well, you're looking from it as it were, but this is its pod, its charging station, is an Insta360 Go 3. So it's not it's made by Insta360, but it's not a 360 degree camera. Good for vlogging, that kind of thing, as I use it for. And then electronic stuff, well, I've got cable, USB-C. Unfortunately, I still have a couple of things like my Kindle, which requires a mini USB, and then my phone cable. Would be nice. I would like to upgrade to a phone that everything just ran off the USB-C cable. And I always have a long one, because particularly in these countries, there's often not a charging point by the bed. Often it has to stretch, and I think it's worth a few extra grams to have a long one. And then I managed to pick up a 2 cable Indonesian charger, which is very useful. And then I always bring a power bank. This is an Anker one. I like Anker stuff. Unfortunately, this is quite big and heavy. It's a 10,000 milliamp, which is probably more than I need. I had a 5,000 milliamp one, and they did a recall on it, and then I didn't have to send it back, but they did send me a 10,000 one in its place, which, as I say, is a bit too big. I think I might swap back to the 5,000. So that just leaves my Rhino Walk handlebar bag, which could be bigger actually. It could be quite a lot bigger, and then I could, if I needed to fit more stuff in, I could. Got Gigi attached, my cat from Japan. Let's see what's inside. Okay, that's everything that's in my handlebar bag. I mean, that's basically everything else, except for what's in my pocket, so maybe I'll go into that as well. So, nowadays I've started using an electric pump after Japan. I learnt my lesson there, trying to pump tyres up in a really sweaty, in the middle of a really hot, sweaty climb. It has proved invaluable. I thought they were a bit of a fad at first. A gimmick, but really useful when you're traveling. You know, I have to deflate and reflate when I go on and off planes with the tubeless. Sometimes it goes down. If you've got a puncher, you can punch it, you can pump it up several times. This is the Craft Cadence, which I got on a Kickstarter, and it has, I think, the biggest battery for any of its equivalent sized other versions that are on the market, and it's got a digital gauge. Very useful, but it's not waterproof, so that has its own bag. I've got a plastic spoon, just saves throwing them away when you need them for breakfast. This is my soap. It's about an eighth of a bar of soap, but that's all you need really. And then it's just sort of wash kitty stuff, and I always bring a little pair of nail scissors, an Opinel knife, and a lighter. They can be very useful. I've got a few what do you call them, ibuprofen tablets, just in case, haven't had to use them. Contact lens liquid. I think I could have brought a slightly smaller one than that, with a bit of tape wrapped around it. You never know when you might need tape. A little bit more eye drops. Snake powder from Thailand, just in case you start getting, that's the name of the brand, just in case you start getting little sores and rashes, which I did last year. And that's my sun cream. That's all I need for like 2 weeks. I'm quite sparing with it, but I haven't got sunburn. So that's that. I've got a razor, contact lens case. You know, when I got into lightweight, not cycling actually, but backpacking, I remember reading an article or a blog or something by an experienced lightweight backpacker, and he said, you know, to get me in the right frame of mind, the first thing I do is cut off the handle of my toothbrush. Something I've always adhered to. Now, it's not just about weight. It's not about weight. It's because toothbrushes are quite long, so now this fits. The other thing you can do is not have a tube of toothpaste. So I squeeze some toothpaste in a bag and tie a knot in it, so that's super lightweight. And again, I probably bought more than I needed to. Anyway, that's the miscellaneous bag. And then I also bring, just like a lightweight, this is like a cycling musette, sort of a bag that can go over my shoulder. Very useful for if you're coming into town, you want to buy a few things and cycle a bit further with it. I can just put it over my shoulder, and it also avoids using too many plastic bags. Okay, a couple of other things on the bike. My bike computer is the Hammerhead Karoo 3, the latest version, which I just got. I won't go into a full review of that, but I like the Hammerhead for touring. It's very, very good. And the new version is even better. It's not a huge step up, but it has got a really killer feature, and that is I can send Google Map pins straight to it. So if I arrive in a new area and I want to go, like, find this hotel, I just send that from Google Maps, arrives on my computer and plots a route to it. Fantastic, really good. 2 water bottles, not big ones, like 750ml, and that's more than enough really. There's always places to get water. I mean, you do need 2 here. I could have got away with 1 in Vietnam, which wasn't so hot, but here I need 2. Despite having the electric pump, I always bring a mini pump. It's just sitting there on the frame. You never know, you know, maybe the electric pump gets wet, doesn't work. You need some emergency backup. And then the only other thing I have is lights. So I have a rear light. I quite like this one. I got this in Hanoi cheaply, because you can leave the mount on there and it's got a magnetic attachment. Very lightweight, lasts for hours. Just a red flashing light. And then a front light just goes on the handlebar. I bought that in Da Nang years ago for like £7 or £8. It's great. The button broke, but I just made a new one and stuck some tape on. It's USB, mini USB, unfortunately. That's the other thing I've got. But it does the job, and it will give you a few hours of very bright riding. I don't often use it. I'm almost always riding in the day, but you never know. I did once get caught out in the mountains at night with no lights, riding along holding my iPhone up with the torch on whenever a car was coming, and I was scared. So I suppose the only other thing is what I'm wearing. I do carry a couple of things in my pocket. So I wear a cycling jersey, mainly for filming actually, because I could wear a looser sort of mountain bike t-shirt or something like the one I carry for the evenings, but it needs to be tight to hold the camera in place, because the camera attaches to my chest through this magnetic pendant. So that will bounce and flap around, so it needs a sort of tight cycling jersey. And then for touring nowadays, I wear mountain bike shorts with a liner padded short underneath. I just like having, well, there's 2 reasons why. One, I don't want to look like a sort of pro cyclist in the middle of nowhere in a developing country. I mean, I look weird enough anyway, so I don't need to look overly weird. But also, these are my shorts for the evening. So if you're going super lightweight, all I need is a t-shirt really, and the underpants, which double up as a swimming costume for the evening. By the way, I don't bring a towel. A towel is completely unnecessary. Almost everywhere I stay, and I'm credit card touring, which means I'm staying in hotels, I'm not camping, they almost always have a towel. Hotel Luna didn't, but you just sort of drip dry. It's warm out, so it's not a big problem. So no towel. Yeah, so mountain bike shorts. I've got some specialized shoes on, mountain bike shoes. Mountain bike cleats, much better for walking in for touring. I'm not wearing road shoes. In fact, I don't really wear road cycling shoes anymore, specific road ones. I just use mountain bike ones. I've got a pair of Shocks bone conducting headphones, the latest version, which they sent me for free. Very nice of them. And then in my pocket I've got, oh yeah, let's see, very important in my back pocket is passport in a Ziploc bag, money and credit card, and then I always bring a second card in my little zipped jersey pocket. I bring another card, you know, just in case you don't want to be one card down. Got my phone, and then my cash for the day is in just this raggy little plastic bag, which the locals always laugh at. They seem to find that very funny that I produce my cash from this bag, but it keeps it dry, and I can keep a bit of tissue paper in there just in case everything gets wet. I have found I did get stuck once. I couldn't even use my phone because it was so wet and sweaty and rain, and I just couldn't operate the phone and work out my route, so that was a bit of a problem. So that is that. Okay, so that is everything that I bring. Super lightweight, touring, credit card touring. I could bring a bit less if I needed to, but let's be honest, I'll see if I can get this stuff on the scales. I think it can't weigh more than the, you know, like the toolkit and the water bottles and the light battery light. These are things that are always on my bike, the mini pump. So I think excess weight of that can't be more than a kilo, and you can survive on that for weeks. Okay, I'm now gonna go, you can just about see out there into that ocean because it is hot right now. Gonna go for a swim, and then I've got a few more days left of my tour, back to Labuan Bajo and then back to lovely Bali. Okay, hope you enjoyed that video. A little bit different from the usual, a bit too much geekery for some, so that's why I made it a separate video. And yeah, keep up with my latest tours and travels and trips on today's ride. That was super light bike packing, and this is ultra light bike packing. I'm on a overnight trip to the north coast, Pemuteran, very nice little beach town. Haven't even got my Insta360 camera, so I'm just doing this on the phone. But I thought you just might be interested to see what I bring just on an overnight trip. Well, there's the bike, no frame bag, no top tube bag, shoes strapped on as ever, and no clothing extra. I'm wearing my sort of mountain bike gearing, so this just doubled up. As soon as I arrived, I gave this a wash, dried out in the sun in 20 minutes, so I didn't need anything for the evening. And then I've got a little bag of goodies in here, and that's basically it. I'll show you what's in it. Pretty limited. Wall charger, USB-C, iPhone cable, sun cream, eye drops, bag of toothpaste, nearly finished now, and the foreshortened toothbrush, and that is it. So that's my ultra light, super ultra light overnight bike packing gear.